Do you want to get, no, we got another minute. I have two pens on this one. Five?
We got an invitation.
7, yeah. I want to say 5, but we'll double check. Okay, welcome everybody to the Town of Orangetown Town Board meeting of August 25th, 2026.
Okay, Councilman Paul Valentine.
Here.
Councilman Jerry Batari.
Here.
Councilman Brian Donahue.
Here.
Councilman Dan Sullivan.
Here.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
Here, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do have an announcement. We have Orangetown Night at Clover Stadium is this Thursday, August 27th. So anybody's interested in free tickets can contact my office, and we'll get you vouchers to get in for free. Next, we do have a presentation, a very important presentation. We're getting donation of improvements to the Camp Shanks Memorial Park from the Raymond W. Demiola VFW Memorial Post 1650 Walkway of Heroes. So, gentlemen, I'll give it to you. I don't. Oh, thank you. Public hearing, okay.
Okay, thank you. Greetings, everybody. My name is Robert Dell. I'm here as the liaison for the Raymond W. Demiola Post 1615 to formalize the donation of the improvements to the Camp Shanks Memorial Park and the Walkway of American Heroes to the town of Orangetown. As per Resolution 1999-30, the Town Board approved an adopt-to-park agreement with the Post. The Post charter, unfortunately, has ended. If it sounds like I'm reading off a script, I am. I don't want to get this wrong. It's a formal thing here. So, no, I am not a veteran, but I was asked by 1999 by then Post Commander Ben Rajansky, because of my work on the land use boards and my relationship, of course, with my father, Edward Dell, Post member and World War II U.S. Navy Pearl Harbor survivor. My roles on this project have included VFW 1615 liaison to the town, designer, Walkway of American Heroes, vice chairman of the trust, project manager, grants writer, and later liaison for the Marine Corps League of Rockland County. Only the contractors, who often gave discounts, were paid. None of the professionals, including myself, ever received any form of compensation. Brief history. My father and I in 1999 approached the Orangetown Council as representatives of the Post to upgrade the existing Camp Shanks Memorial Park on Independence Avenue in Tappan. We proposed to pay for the improvements by selling memorial bricks for $150 each. My father managed to sell over 1,500 bricks and named the project the Walkway of American Heroes. My mother, Laurel Dell, gave countless hours creating the brick records, organizing the project until her passing in 2017. Edward Dell died in 2007. The project continued under the leadership of Commander John Antonucci, who has worked with me since 1999. We were originally questioned why so many extra spaces were created, as there were obviously limited possibilities for new wars. Then 9/11 happened. Unfortunately, almost all of those who are listed on the May 28, 2000 commemorative stone are no longer with us. The end result of our work is self-evident. Received an award from Keep Rockland Beautiful, and the park has been featured on network television for at least one nationally televised press conferences. The qualifications for inclusions were a documented honorable discharge or continued service in the U.S. Armed Forces, official KIA or MIA status, having been stationed at any military facility in Orangetown, and being a resident or having a blood or marriage relationship with a current or former resident. Now, as to why that was done, when we first started this, like I feared, we were contacted by a VFW post up in Albany that wanted to buy all the bricks. So I don't think that's what we wanted to have in our area here. Okay, no rank or distinctions are listed on the bricks, only the branch of service and the years served. This included George Washington. Exceptions were made for those who were killed or MIA, and that's written on the brick. The last of our monies have been designated to replace some of the now faded bricks. We firmly believe that the Camp Shanks Memorial Park and the Walkway of American Heroes has acquired the status of a community touchstone and is a very important place of remembrance. There were so many government officials, organizations, corporations, and individuals who helped us over these now 27 years. It would take a long time to list and read them all, so please forgive me, as I'm sure any list would certainly not be complete. And to determine the level of importance would be an impossible task. You know who you are, those who helped us. We sent our heartfelt thanks and salutes to all of you. I have a partial list that I've given to the town board to be archived. Hopefully our children and grandchildren will appreciate our efforts by seeing this as a part of their legacy. We will always remember the sacrifices that were and continue to be paid collectively by the members of our armed forces to maintain our many freedoms. As we may see here tonight, we have the freedom to agree and to disagree, creating the essential dialogue needed to shape the future history of our great nation. We now formally surrender our adoption of the park and give the town the results of the efforts of the Raymond W. DiMeola VFW Post 1615, the many government officials, agencies, organizations, and individuals who all helped to make this possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John, you want to say something?
I'd just like to conclude what Bob Dell said, and I'd like to thank Supervisor Kenny and the town board for allowing us to speak at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to quickly workshop our agenda items, and then we will move forward with, what's that? Oh, we can do that. That is agenda item number 7, so we'll vote on it now. Okay, can I get a motion to accept the donation of the improvements to Camp Shanks Memorial Park Walkway of American Heroes?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so we'll workshop real quick. We have the public hearing, which I suspect most people are here for, on the moratorium for the data centers and the battery energy storage systems. So that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7 we just did. 8, this is an important resolution. So this is, the town is a member of the Association of Towns, and for many years I've been a little frustrated with them because I always felt like they didn't necessarily represent what the town board here, at least, or some of the towns felt about our dealings with the state government. So there's a new executive director, and they've come up with a new resolution that they're asking all the towns to sign, to approve. And I mean, if you read it, number 1 is protection and defense of municipal home rule. So I think that's something that we all definitely believe in. Number 2, local controlled land use and zoning, free from statewide zoning rules that override the voice of resident taxpayers and the officials they elect. Number 3, freedom from unfunded mandates. And so that's basically something that the Association of Towns has asked us all to approve, and I'm only too happy to do so. So That's number 8. Number 9 is authorization for delegate to the legislative meeting. So this is basically, I am a delegate for one of the committees with the Association of Towns, and they have asked us to go to Albany in September to vote on certain things. So it's still a little up in the air because the hotel may be booked, but we'd rather have the authorization than not. So that's that. Number 10, approve intergovernmental 3-year agreement between New York State Office of Information Technology Service and Division of Homeland Security, and that is at no cost, and that's from the recommendation of our IT department. Number 11, reappoint Stephanie Shearer Kosovic to the position of Deputy Town Attorney. There was something when she was originally hired, and so we are making sure it's confirmed that she was in fact appointed. Number 12, for Highway, we have award the contract for milling and paving in Piermont Avenue in South Nyack to Tilcon, New York, for $330,000, the lowest qualified bidder. Number 13, we're going to accept the retirement of Richard Ballard. He's been here with us for 38 years, and he is moving on to his next chapter. And then we have the audit. So all things being equal, it's a fairly light agenda. I think we'll go to the public hearing first, and we'll come back to the general open public comment. So normally we do the public comment, and you could get up there and you have 3 minutes to speak about anything, and then there's the public hearing. We're going to move to the public hearing, which is, again, is about the proposed moratorium to the data center. So can I get a motion?
I make a
to open the
motion to open the public hearing on the proposed moratorium for the data center.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Rob, should we bring Ashley up to talk about it, or just, do you want to talk about it?
You want me to give a brief scenario, or you want to give it? Okay.
You guys can do rock, paper, scissors. I don't care who does it.
Well, yeah, generally speaking, there's a proposed moratorium on applications for data storage centers and battery energy storage systems. It would be a 6-month moratorium, and it would be, it's laid out in the law, but it would give the town an opportunity to look at issues related to environmental issues, public health, safety, and welfare issues, and some zoning issues that have come up. I know we've discussed this before with respect to zoning, that there have been determinations, but the way things have changed, I think the feeling was to hit a pause, allow further review, and see if there's any changes necessary to be made to the town code, perhaps adopt some standards. But that's something that, the purpose of the moratorium is not just to stop these projects from proceeding, it's to stop them while the town board works on regulations. So as I said, certain standards might be imposed, but again, that's something we'll work on with our planner, AKRF, my office, and the town board will work on that. So it's not just stop and nothing happens, it's a work in progress during the time of the moratorium.
Okay. So we are going to, because it looks like there's quite a few people signed up, we're going to limit the time to speak to 3 minutes, so that we make sure everybody speaks. And I'm going to do something that I don't normally do, but I'm going to start with the Orangetown residents first who signed up. And it looks like some people may have signed up on both, but I'll make sure I get to you. Okay, so the first person signed up on the public hearing comment sheet is Vanessa Lappins.
Vanessa Lappins, 659 Western Highway, Blauvelt. Thank you to the board for considering this moratorium and allowing us to speak this evening. Firstly, does this apply to increases in power for existing data centers? So an example would be an existing data center wants more CPUs. An existing data center wants more GPUs. Or they want to convert CPUs to GPUs. And for those of you who are not aware, that's what supports a lot of the AI processing that has become so interesting from a power generation perspective. And then finally, another example would be more generators. And then secondly, specifically, how does this affect the J.P. Morgan Project Sycamore expansion and also the One Ramland Road expansion? It's not clear whether they have been pre-approved for expansion or they come into this moratorium because they have to go before the boards again. Thank you.
Okay, the next person who wrote where they're from, I have a Klaus Jacob.
I had not planned to speak. I thought I signed in for the meeting, but I speak anyhow. I'm not foolish enough to claim that we are not users of those data centers. If we go to the bank, we are essentially using the data center. If we Google anything, we use data centers. But whatever the town can do to ensure that those data centers fund themselves rather than on the expense of citizens in this town, that needs to be excluded. I also think that a 6 months period is too short. You should extend your moratorium for a full year and without exception of any already applied centers that you may have to some degree pre-approved. They should be revisited as part of the review that is allowed under this or enabled under this moratorium. Thank you.
When you come up, if you just wouldn't mind stating your name and where you're from for the record. So that gentleman is from Piermont, that's Klaus Jacob. Okay, the next person I have on here from Orangetown is Adam Farker.
Adam Farkas, I'm with the Orangeburg Battery Project. Supervisor Kenny, members of the town board, town staff, thank you for hearing me this evening. My name's Adam Farkas, and I'm the developer for the Orangeburg Battery Project located at 524 Route 303. I'm here this evening to respectfully request an amendment to the proposed local law to allow battery projects which were submitted prior to July 1 to continue through the permitting process. More specifically, the amendment is a minor change to the grandfathering provision already contained in section 20-3C. The proposed local law with this amendment has previously been provided to the town, and I have it with me tonight for the board to adopt if they so choose to. The reason we're asking for this amendment is because we've been working with the town on this project for over a year. We introduced it to the town in July 2025 and followed that up by going through the referral process with the building department and are currently preparing our third submission for the planning board to review. In addition, we've met with the project review committee twice. We've held a public hearing, and we funded a third-party consultant to support the town in review of our project, which is currently underway. We've undergone extensive technical evaluation and have designed the project to meet or exceed all code requirements. The project is not requesting any waivers or any variances. We understand here the biggest issue is safety. We're committed to work with the fire department on this project, and we just met with them earlier today. We've already provided an emergency response plan, hazard mitigation analysis, code compliance report, and a detailed response protocol for emergency response personnel and subject matter experts. Furthermore, battery projects provide significant benefits to the community. These benefits include generating tax revenue, improving the reliability of the grid to help prevent brownouts, and helping to advance the town's long-term sustainability objectives. We've specifically selected a site in close proximity to an existing substation with access to three-phase power to minimize the impact of the project. It is also strategically located so that you can't see it, you can't hear it, there's no driveway required, and it has no impacts to traffic on Route 303. In closing, I'm here tonight requesting a minor amendment to the proposed local law to allow our project to continue to go through the permitting process as it has been for over a year. I appreciate the consideration of the town board and look forward to continue to work with you all on this project. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to start at the top here. I have an Andy Goodpasser. Pastor.
Hi, I'm definitely against the saying these things aren't designed right. 50 megawatt will be like 15, 20, 4 megawatt diesel generators. Each diesel generator is the size of a boxcar. So 20 of these things. 4 weeks ago, Trump said, disconnect from the grid all the data centers on the East Coast. So all that hot weekend, all the diesel generators were running on the East Coast. 4 megawatt is the size of a boxcar. There's going to be 20 of these things. The power lines, 50 megawatt power lines, 72 feet from the power line, it's going to be 3 milligauss. 3 milligauss is clearly showing more cancer. There's no question about that. I read studies. 70 feet from the power lines, 3 milligauss, 24 hours a day, more cancer. You got a data center in northern Texas. Well, this might be a water issue. It says they haven't even told you how much water is coming out of the system. You can't okay something. Well, I guess this has already gone through, but you and you don't even know how much water they're going to use. The infrasound is going to be an issue. The sound is going to be an issue. They could be built better, and it's like obviously going to raise the rates, because anything that happens to the grid, Virginia has 25% of their electricity going to data centers. All those improvements to the grid is then paid for by everybody in the system. So it will clearly increase, unless you do like the good woman here, it's where you say where they have to pay for grid improvements separately, and they're not doing that. She also has a thing about the water in there. We don't have water. New Jersey doesn't have any water. We were on restrictions this summer. We have people, we don't have water. I don't know if my 3 minutes is up. But
No, there's a clock right here. You got 19 seconds.
all right. Well, they're just not. They could be designed better. There's too many problems, and people should be able. These are all being rushed through. I can see it in Kenilworth. I can see it everywhere I go. I can see this. People don't even know what's going on.
Lauren Hall. And Lauren, again, if you just wouldn't mind telling us where you're from.
Yeah, I realized I didn't put that on there. Lauren Hall, I'm with Carson Power. We have a project here in Orangetown. And yeah, so I'm here speaking on behalf of Carson Power regarding the battery storage part of the moratorium. I just first want to talk about how battery storage is distinguished from data centers and just kind of get that out there. I'm sure you all are very aware of that. I know you've worked with my other team members before, but I just want to get on record that, data centers, we all know that they use a lot of energy, and that actually does the opposite. We're here to develop energy infrastructure that bolsters the grid and reduces the demand and the stress on the grid. These things are privately funded, so ratepayers actually don't have to pay anything for these grid upgrades that data centers might impose on ratepayers. So you'll only see benefits. So I just wanted to put that out there to begin with. So Carson Power, we currently have 2 battery storage applications pending before the town. Both projects are sited within the industrial districts here in Orangetown where public utility uses are permitted. And both applications were submitted in good faith before this proposed moratorium was introduced. So we understand that the town wants to be thoughtful and deliberate in its review of these projects. We want that as well. Clear and comprehensive review process benefits both the town and the applicants and the rest of the community here. So we also share the town's goal of ensuring that every BESS project is designed, constructed, and operated as safely as possible. These systems are developed in accordance with national codes, which are extremely modern, nationally recognized standards, appropriate emergency response procedures. They will incorporate extensive safety measures, including battery management, thermal monitoring, fire detection and suppression, equipment separation, and other different emergency response plans that are in our application. So we absolutely respect the town's desire to consider additional standards for future BESS development. However, our pending applications are already undergoing the permitting process here in the town, where they're citing design safety measures and impacts are being thoroughly evaluated. Delaying that review could jeopardize the utility interconnection positions that we have and then completely change the time and resources that we've already invested in these projects and change the timeline. So for these reasons, we respectfully ask the town board to allow our existing applications to continue through the permitting process without delay. This would preserve the town's ability to conduct a careful and comprehensive review while recognizing that these applications were filed before this proposed moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see who I have here. Betsy Longerdorfer.
Hi, I'm Betsy Longendorfer. I'm a resident of Northvale, New Jersey. The public notice for this meeting says that it's establishing a temporary moratorium on approval, construction, and installation of data storage facilities in Orangetown. And we ask that this moratorium include the approval of DataBank. The reason for a moratorium is because so many valid objections are being raised locally and nationally. Energy costs being driven higher for everyone, air, water, and noise pollution, and there might be stranded assets for the community to deal with later. The scale of the power needed affects so many more people than just the immediate neighbors. For instance, it affects us in New Jersey, and there's no mechanism to deal with that. There's no zoning board input that accounts for the vastly increased scope of the effect of your decision. Let me draw on an analogy with some common sense examples where new information and understanding causes a reevaluation of products or procedures that were previously thought to be okay. Right now, we're in the middle of a cyclospora infection, and we didn't say, oh, let's use up all the lettuce that's in the pipeline, and then we can change the inspection procedure. Or an automobile recall that says that affects braking should not apply to those cars that were already inspected and shipped. We'll just fix the new ones. When there is new information or new understanding of the magnitude of the effects, that's when everyone needs to take a step back and reevaluate. Applying that to this situation, we now understand that the previous data centers that were built here were not AI data centers and do not use anywhere close to the amount of power that this one will. We also do not understand the amount of new infrastructure that data centers are requiring and how much that affects everyone's electric rates. I'm sure you as board members were also caught by surprise when you were first told that data centers are just the same as office or light industrial uses, or more recently that this is just another data center like the other ones. That's not the case. This moratorium is needed so that you and other planning boards across the country can come to a consensus about how best to protect your residents while also trying to bring in new business. That line must be drawn differently with this new category of building. Don't let an undocumented verbal decision apparently made by a local official 12 years ago, a lifetime in the tech world, stop you from doing the right thing for your community now that you know how much more complex this situation is. The world is a different place now, and you have to reevaluate that decision with current facts. And I see I have a couple more seconds, so I just wanted to make a separate comment on the battery energy storage systems. I'm a retired electrical engineer with some knowledge of the grid. These battery systems actually help the grid by improving reliability and potentially reducing electric rates, so you might want to consider excluding them from the moratorium. Thank you.
Steve Jackson?
Good evening. Thank you, board members. My name's Steve Jackson. I live in Northvale, New Jersey. My focus, or my 3 minutes, is basically on the power requirements. An earlier person mentioned that there's issues with noise and pollution and environmental things, appearance, and AARKF seems to be very skilled to do that, but they don't have any experience or responsibilities in power, and the way things are currently set up for planning boards, neither does the Orangetown Planning Board. The issue is, though, that for the same data center, the power needs can change vastly, affecting power requirements, safety, and economics. An earlier person talked about the difference between CPUs and GPUs, which are used for AI. Even within the GPU chip set, they're increasing enormously. In 2027, next year, the latest NVIDIA chips will have enough power in a single rack that's maybe 8 feet long, 6 feet high, to have 600 kilowatts. That's the same power as 500 homes. And that's 50 times more power than only 5 years ago. And right now, there's no regulatory mechanism to address the power for these units, and that just has to be resolved. I made a simple, very low-quality map just to show the data centers in the beginning. Bloomberg and the other ones only took about 20% power for the whole city. JP Morgan, his plan, took about 58% power, of the whole town. But with a data bank, they're going to be 150% power of the residents. The thing is, with respect to the board, I use the term Captain Kenny. Montgomery Scott of the Starship Enterprise said, we don't have the power. We don't have the power. Thank you.
James Coffey?
James Coffey, 139 Hunt Road. Chairman Kenny and the board. I don't really have much to say. There's a lot of people back and forth. But what I want to say is thank you for the moratorium and letting cooler heads prevail and listening to both sides. And again, where I live, it's right in my backyard. So of course I'm against the expansion. What they have is fine, but the expansion, no. But again, thank you for the moratorium and thank you for listening to us, and cooler heads prevail. Thank you.
Penny Rosen?
Penny Rosen, Old Tappan, New Jersey. Data bank is being developed in my backyard, and my concern is the cumulative effect of these data centers in our area. I'm here to reiterate for a neighbor that can't be here who has Bloomberg in her backyard, and she has been dealing with the noise pollution for the last, I guess, 13 years. And when we moved in 15 years ago, it was still being built. So I'm going to play a video where she
wants to show you the recording I made right behind current existing data center Bloomberg building. Not this little, it's a 75 decibel above. Starts Saturday morning, 7:30. at least run 8 hours. Now the data bank phase 2 is actually adding 8 more generators and
So she listens to this on Saturday mornings from 8:30 till 2:30 every week when they run the generators. It is a big concern of ours when the generators will be run or when there's a need for them. It's noise pollution that none of us should have to really deal with. Thank you.
Chris Kurlowski.
Good evening. Thank you for this moratorium and for considering this moratorium. But every resident who cares about our community, responsible zoning, and the rule of law should be paying attention tonight. I'm asking this town board to do one thing: include Data Bank Phase 2 in this moratorium. The fact that Phase 1 is being recognized as being so egregious is now part of a full environmental review. And now you're going to exclude Phase 2. I understand when Phase 1 was opened, Data Bank was already being congratulated on Phase 2 at the Phase 1 grand opening. When Data Bank sought Phase 1 approval, the planning board required land bank parking where Phase 2 had been proposed and expressly stated that Phase 2, as formally illustrated, cannot be constructed. Data Bank accepted that promise and approval subject to condition 14. Then there is zoning. The town-owns comprehensive plan recognized the need for new zoning and conditional use standards for data centers in the LIO district. Rockland Planning Board, the Rockland County Planning Board, disapproved this application and raised serious concerns about the land use, the lack of zoning, and environmental concerns. Yet somehow Data Bank Phase 2 is being not considered. We were initially told that the McGee litigation created a legal obstacle for the town, but multiple legal experts, including the former town attorney, Jim Riley, who actually, as I understand, came on to work for the town because of the McGee case, told him that this is not the case. A pending application does not automatically prevent inclusion in a property enacted moratorium. So the public deserves a better explanation. Now look at the economics. Recently, reInvent Albany reports at least $320 million in taxpayer and discounted power subsidies for Rockland data centers. That's approximately $1 million per permanent job. I think it's greater for Data Bank. I think it's like $2.6 million per job. Millions are being invested in electrical infrastructure along Corporate Drive, and Data Bank reportedly adds only $175,000 in property taxes for Phase 2. So think about the trade-off. For comparatively modest incremental tax revenue, our region is being asked to absorb the massive power demand, infrastructure, generators, noise, environmental risk, and additional pressure besides Lake Tapan, an irreplaceable drinking water resource. And these impacts do not stop at Orangetown's border. The power impacts are regional, the economic impacts are regional, the infrastructure impacts are regional, the environmental impacts are regional. So I ask you directly, why are we not considering Data Bank Phase 2 in a moratorium? Thank you.
David Rosen.
Good evening, Supervisor Kenny, members of the board. My name is David Rosen, co-founder of the Bi-State Data Center Crisis Coalition. I live at 10 Buckingham Place in Old Tappan, adjacent to the Data Bank campus and the Lake Tappan Reservoir. Thank you. This board deserves credit for recognizing that today's data centers aren't what they were 10 or 20 years ago, and that our zoning code wasn't built for them. That's leadership. But I'd ask you to consider 3 ways to strengthen what you've already started. First, the timeline. The issues this moratorium is meant to study, power, noise, battery storage, fire risk, water use, are complex, They deserve a real study, not a rushed one. Data Bank Phase 2 shows why. Rockland County's own Department of Planning already reviewed it, recommended disapproval as too resource intensive. By DataBank's own numbers, the completed campus would draw power for roughly 34,000 homes. That's more homes than exist in all of Orangetown, backed by massive diesel generators and dozens of air conditioning units beside our reservoir. If the one project before you raises concerns this serious, 180 days isn't enough. We urge this board to extend the moratorium, as was said earlier, to a full year. Second, the carve-out. The way the law is currently written suggests that Data Bank 2 would not be included. The entire purpose of a moratorium is to freeze the status quo while an issue is studied. But there's only one data center application in the town currently, and this law will effectively exempt it. A moratorium that excludes the only project it could possibly reach currently isn't protecting anything. It serves no purpose if it excludes Data Bank 2. At Data Bank knew when it was doing. Phase 2 was filed after October 2023, when this very board approved a new comprehensive plan that does not list data centers as a permitted use, as everybody here knows, as a permitted use in the LIO district, despite all the data centers that have subsequently been built in the LIO district. Data Bank knowingly proceeded at its own risk. Multiple land use attorneys, as earlier said that McGee does not apply here. New York state law has clear case law that says that no vested rights are given until a permit is issued. No permit has been issued for Data Bank Phase 2. Filing an application creates no vested right. This board has clear authority to include it right up until a permit is issued. Third and finally, money. As was earlier said, reInvent Albany found Data Bank its tenants have received $63.9 million in combined tax and power subsidy for 25 jobs. That's ridiculous. Thank you.
I think it's Sean Bogue, B-O-Q-U-E or B-O-G-U-E.
Hello, I'm Sean. I am a resident of Brooklyn, New York, but I've been going all over the state, seeing people's lives negatively affected by this, by data centers. It has been a disastrous move at every place that I've been to, from Buffalo to Niagara, all the way over to here. There are countless negatives with so little positives that it is frustrating to see town after town put these up at the expense of everybody who lives in these towns. I've seen heat islands of 5+ degrees more in a 5-mile radius around different data centers. I've seen millions of gallons of water pulled out of lakes, trout and all, to cool these data centers. It's destroying lives, people who can't get to sleep at night because there are constant droning of these 100-decibel facilities that say that they're going to be closed loops, that say they're going to be for the benefit of the people who live here, while they create fewer and fewer jobs at the expense of thousands of people who have to live every day with those consequences. And to watch another town potentially push another expansion on a place that should never have been built to begin with is so disheartening when we only have one planet. And we've seen so many people on my journey. I've watched so many people watch their communities suffer from power plants in the past and data centers in the present, and what this will leave our children and our children's children generations from now is terrifying. We can't let tiny profit in the now or massive profit in the now benefit a small group of people over the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who may be affected by these in the future, not to mention how much data has been stolen by artists, by creatives, by journalists, by videographers, by everybody who has anything online. They've watch their content, their work stolen, creating slop online so that people who don't know any better consume it, laugh, and get some form of pleasure from nothing. It is horrifying to watch the soul of our nation slip away as countless towns who could easily stop this with a moratorium or an outright ban on a thing that will not bring any sort of prosperity to the towns that are looking to build these things. And I hope to see the data bank phase 2 stopped in its tracks here and now, and you have the power to do that, and I hope that you are able to take the moral clarity and high road here on doing that. Thank you.
Okay, that's everybody who signed up so far for the public hearing on the moratorium. Is there anybody here from the town of Orangetown that wants to speak on the moratorium that has not had a chance? No, from Orangetown first. I'll let everybody. Yep, come on up. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Melody Fiore, 99 Hunt Road, Orangeburg. My property abuts data banks, and my entire property aligns with their fire exit. Thank you, everyone, for considering this moratorium. I'm going to be very brief. I've spoken before. I've attended every one of data banks' planning board meetings, architectural board meetings, and zoning board meetings over the past 4 years. There's a lot of statements that were made here from the residents and the New Jersey residents that are very true concerning what was discussed at the meeting, separating phase 1, not going with phase 2. I have to say that I am not against data banks. I was not against it. I did stand up that very first day at the very first planning board meeting, and I spoke about the potential catastrophic environmental possibilities of this huge complex. I asked the planning board and data bank to consider a smaller data center. This is huge. It is too big. I am asking, as I've asked the planning board, we don't need phase 2. I abut that property, as I said at the last meeting, when there was that electrical fire and all that smoke came onto my property. It was frightening. I don't need to live in an area where I have to fear that there could be a fire or the water, my well, my property, my neighbor's property, Jim, the ball field. The complex is big enough. Data Bank has probably made promises. They've done a lot for the town. I know they've done for the ball field, but I don't see what they've done for me or the residents right there. And I don't see a benefit to this, continuing with phase 2. Please consider adding it to the moratorium, because there are issues that are so complex that everyone who is eloquent and scientific and has the wherewithal to talk about it has spoken here. But I live there. I've lived there, my family, 50 years we've paid taxes. You are voted in by the residents in this town. Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else from Orangetown that wants to speak that hasn't had a chance? Seeing no hands, and I will open it up to anybody else. You can, yeah, we'll move from, that's way over that way, go ahead. Again, just say your name and where you're from.
My name is CJ Branch. I live in Waldron Avenue in Central Nyack, and I believe that the town of Orangetown should consider adding Phase 2 of the data bank application to the moratorium. I came here a few short months ago. I came here just about 2 months ago to speak about the proposal, and we saw what it would do. It's going to harm the environment. It's going to take water away from people who need it, and we don't need that. People in Orangetown can't afford the strain on the electrical grid. This is coming out of taxpayer dollars, and we don't need that. A gentleman showed before with his map that it's going to affect areas outside of Orangetown. I'm from Central Nyack. My family doesn't need that. There are families already struggling with their bills as is, and these families can't afford the extra money out on top of these bills by the data center. We also, I just thank you for the previous moratorium. You're doing what's right, and we appreciate it, but we need DataBank's Part 2 application added. I also made a point outside at the rally, and I made a point last time. The families in East Ramapo, their children, they don't have clean drinking water there. They don't have air conditioning in the summer, and I speak with students from East Ramapo because the school I go to has kids from across the county. Kids have called the heat, and they're brutal. They don't have clean drinking water. They have to bring water bottles to school every day. This isn't just, and they need help. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. I saw another hand over here.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Roberto Garachana. I'm from West Haverstraw. So like everybody said, even though this is in Orangeburg, this affects everyone in the county. And I really think it's important that the public understand what is going on here. A lot of our local politicians will try to tell you that this is good for you because of the tax incentives, right? They are going to offer up $63 million to a multi-billion-dollar company so that they can pay more in property taxes so you can pay less. What is that going to do for you if you pay less in property taxes but your rates skyrocket? When have you ever paid less in property taxes? Someone here tell me, when have your property taxes ever actually gone down? I don't know. I've never been told that happening anywhere. So we have never had a project where capital investment has lowered property taxes. We do have evidence, years worth of evidence. I've been working in power production for 11 years. We do have evidence that your rates are going to go up to outpace any false promise of your property taxes going down. Your property value will go down because nobody here wants to live next to a data center. Everybody here, how are you going to retire without your property value? Where are your kids going to live? Are they going to want to live here? No, they're going to leave. None of this is to your benefit. And most importantly, is that this serves zero purpose. Every function of AI that you know of that currently exists already has all the infrastructure it needs. This project does not actually advance a single thing that currently exists. Every slop video you've ever seen, every tracking program that's ever been used against the citizenry of this country already has all the infrastructure that it needs. And instead, we're gonna build more? Why? Not to your benefit, we just stated. You're gonna pay more for it and get nothing out of it except health complications, lower property value, and higher property taxes still. Because everybody's gonna leave, so who's gonna pay the property taxes? Right? This is simple math. They know it. They're hoping you don't. I hope that you guys understand that this moratorium needs to happen. Like the gentleman pointed out, the only one that it could possibly affect is the one you're excluding. I think they're making fun of you guys. I think they're making fun of this community. I think they're making fun of the people who pay taxes, the people who raise children, the people who actually need this vital resource, which is electricity, not the multi-billion-dollar company, its shareholders, its investors, and its employees. Thank you for the time.
Anybody doing it?
Hello, my name is Laura Schindel. I'm the New York State Director with a group called Food and Water Action. I live in Queens, New York, but I wanted to share a bit of a national perspective since we're a national organization. I know everyone's focused on what's going on here in Orangetown. What you might not have realized is this is the fastest growing political issue in the country. We are seeing every state, every community across the political divide rise up against data centers because those that have experienced them are living with intense noise where people can't sleep and higher energy bills. And so we're seeing politicians wake up to that reality and start embracing moratoriums and rejecting proposals outright. And I imagine our town board here today has noticed some of that political momentum because they've introduced this moratorium in the first place. But the thing about a lot of politicians is they want to please everyone. And so they've introduced a moratorium to say, oh, look, like we're thinking about both sides. We're not going to build new ones. But the moratorium you're considering doesn't include the exact proposal that threatens the community. So you want to have your cake and eat it too? You want to say, all right, we just did the bare minimum of having a moratorium that effectively does nothing? We need a moratorium that actually applies to Data Bank Phase 2 or an outright rejection of their proposal. And if you want to stay in office, I would recommend that you take those steps because we've already seen what happens to legislators that have made those wrong decisions in communities that have had these proposals built a few years back. They're already getting voted out. And Food and Water Action is an electoral organization. We endorse candidates that are fighting to protect our environment, that are fighting to lower our energy bills, that are fighting for our future. And so, like, we expect that our leaders lead and hear from community members and respond and include, so what you should do is include the Data Bank Phase 2 in your moratorium or just outright reject it because that's what people want here and across the state and across the country. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak that doesn't have a chance to speak?
Thank you for having this meeting tonight. So I'm Jackie Drexler. I live in Valley Cottage and a former Orangetown resident. So a lot of people have spoken about the multiple reasons why Data Bank Phase 2 needs to be carved in. Everyone always uses the carve out. I'm saying carve it in. So we got here because of a handshake. There were no documents. Data Bank seems to want to continue to expand, knowing that there are more than one serious environmental and health reasons not to. I also want to bring up the fact that this IDA money, you know, it would be very nice if this board actually considered a ban on IDA money being used for these kinds of massive projects in Orangetown, because you've got a lot of them and they've gotten a lot of money from the IDA. And by the way, Attorney Lino Scarietti serves as an IDA agency counsel, advising the board on legal matters, governance, compliance, and public benefit transactions with a private company that claims public benefit. I think there's a conflict of interest there. When I hear the words public benefit, I think of the things that benefit the public: access to parks, open space land, clean water, air, and the enjoyment of living in a stress-free environment, not next to a data center. So I'm not going to go into my whole thing here, but I will say that the protection of the water is one of the most important things, because the water in Lake Tapan, which comes from Lake DeForest, goes into New Jersey. If that water gets polluted in a serious way because of, say, a fire and firefighting foam or a diesel truck spill or who knows what, that water's polluted. That's it. And I think there's a responsibility of us here in Rockland County to make sure that that water that gets transferred to New Jersey, it's, I think, 7 million gallons per day, needs to be clean. I think we have a responsibility to that. I'd like to say that the diesel fuel that is the data centers use for these great big, to cool the air conditioners with these massive containment, generators, the amount of pollution from that is very dangerous from the diesel fuel, according to the American Cancer Society, especially children are very prone to having many lung issues. There can be lung cancers, lung and heart disease. You have fetal and childhood developmental issues, premature and stillbirths, macular degeneration. There's a lot of issues here. And also, asthma. And I wonder, it's just so wonderful that just steps away from DataBank, there's the Little League baseball field that DataBank sponsors. Are they supplying inhalers to all those kids? Thank you. I want you to carve it in, not out. Thanks.
Okay, is there anybody else here that has?
Hi, my name is Matt Heinlein. I live at 38 Corrigan Way in Old Tappan, just offset to where DataBank's proposed data center is. I think putting a 6-month moratorium in place is a mature and responsible thing for the town to do. We're all learning in real time what AI is going to mean for our economy, our power grid, and our communities. Even personally, people are just beginning to understand the differences between various AI tools. I'm sure we're all learning what ChatGPT and Claude and all the different large language models are in the infrastructure that's ultimately required to support them. As I mentioned, I live directly next to the existing data center, so my family, this is not theoretical. I have 2 kids under the age of 2. We live with this sound and the light from the facility every day. That experience matters when we consider whether even more infrastructure should be added in this location. I want to be very clear, I'm not against data centers. I think they are necessary infrastructure and there are appropriate places for them, but everywhere is not an appropriate place for a data center. A site immediately adjacent to a drinking water reservoir, so close to the residents, directly on top of Class 1 and Class 2 wetlands, and dependent on significant power from the existing grid, just simply may not be the right place for this. Maybe after 6 months, we decide data centers need larger setbacks from homes and from water, just to name some of the many issues that we've been talking about. Maybe they should require behind-the-meter power, stronger noise protections, or additional safeguards around wetlands and emergency response. We don't know all of those answers yet, and that's exactly the point. Take 6 months to understand the impacts and create thoughtful rules. This is not anti-development, it's just responsible planning. Thanks.
Anybody else that wants to speak that hasn't had an opportunity?
My name is Peggy Kurtz. I live in Clarkstown. I'm also on the executive committee of Laura Hudson Group, which includes thousands of members in Rockland County. I'm here to ask the board to include the data bank expansion in the moratorium. My understanding is that the town board hasn't included data bank 2 until now because of past precedent. But it is not only the prerogative, but it is also the responsibility of the town board to make policy and to change policy as circumstances and information change. Winston Churchill said, "When the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do, sir?" So it is really the responsibility of the board to meet new circumstances and new facts on the ground. And I think you have a lot of information now about Data Bank 2 that you didn't have before, including from AKRF, and there has been no approval. In fact, the environmental review process has barely started. Jackie mentioned the threat to the water. I don't want to go back through all of the different facts, but I know that Orangetown just completed a little while ago, maybe 6 months ago, a year ago, a review of groundwater protection in in Orangetown. I think it's now the responsibility to extend groundwater protection principles to the water, to the surface water that serves hundreds of thousands of people in northern New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you. Make it quick. Oh, speak. Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice. Get a motion to close?
I make a motion to close the public comment portion.
Second?
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, who wants to go first? Okay, couple things. I just made some notes when I was here. And I'm all over the place here, Chris. So I just want to go, I was texting with the town attorney for the 6 months. I think we're going to make an amendment because I was under the assumption we could just extend it for 6 months without having another public hearing. But you're saying if we put something in the law tonight, that we could extend it without a public hearing?
Right,
correct?
yeah, section 20-9 indicates there can be an extension, 180 days. I'm going to suggest we add language by town board resolution upon the finding of a need for such extension. So it was in there, but if we can do it, if it can be done by town board resolution as opposed to going through the
Another
local
public
law
hearing.
process, that would be much simpler.
Okay, so that's just one thing, so we'll make that change. Okay, where do I start here? So I guess I'm just gonna, so we're all on the same page here, go back a little bit to the first data center that came to Orangetown was, as we talked about, the Bloomberg data center. That was back in 2010. Since then, I think we've had roughly 4 or 5 more, depending if you count phase 1s and phase 2s. And as you've heard, there was nothing in the town code that specifically addressed data centers because they really didn't exist when we were doing the town code. So the building inspector determined that the use was permitted in that DLI zone. So I know there's been much talk about whether a determination was made. It was, and it's legally binding. So as we sit here today, that zone allows data centers. Similar to the battery energy storage systems, they didn't exist when the town code was written either. And it required an interpretation by our building inspector. To be clear, there is a provision in the code that anybody with a current application can apply for a hardship waiver. When it comes to the battery storage facilities, I learned about all 3 of them kind of simultaneously, and had a conversation with my building inspector about how it was determined, and they used this public utility kind of standard. I spoke with some other town supervisors, and it seems there's a bunch of different ways of interpreting it. So that's why we need the moratorium, so that this board, with the help of professionals, can look at it and determine is it appropriate where they're being cited. From everything I heard, Adam, where your location is, it sounds like it would be appropriate, best I could tell. Some of the other ones I'm not quite there with. So I think I'm not in favor of carving that out now. I think you can come in and apply for a hardship waiver, and then this board can look at it and make a determination with our professionals. So I just want to go back to the reference to Jim Riley and his determination. To be clear, I worked with Jim Riley here in the town attorney's office for 14 years. So I'm very familiar with Jim. I have the greatest respect for him. And it is not the McGee case. That doesn't mean it's very necessarily a good thing. It's different from McGee because Data Bank already has an existing operational data center on the property. So the decision was already made that this is properly zoned there. So it is different because McGee didn't have anything there, didn't have anything built yet. So again, I'm not so quick to say I agree. I say I will agree to disagree that there's legal questions there. But I don't know that you can just say, oh, it's not McGee and that there's no legal ramifications, because I tend to differ. I think there would be. But at the end of the day, I think it's really important to remember something. This has been before the planning board for well over a year, and they already made the determination, the planning board, that this project may cause significant harm to the environment, and they issued what's called a positive declaration under secret, and that's a huge deal. As I sit here, I can't tell you the last time I can think of a project getting positive decked. So that requires a comprehensive environmental impact statement that's going to take them 6 months to a year, at best, probably. And during that time, they will work with the planning board, they'll do scoping, they'll look at all these factors, and the public will have plenty of opportunities to speak on all these. They have public hearings, and so there's a long review process for them. So from my point of view, take the legal vesting out, take it out. I just think there's a fairness to it. They've been there. The planning board has already started the process. They've started the review process. It's going to take them well beyond our moratorium. So for myself, I think the appropriate thing for us to do is to, and I'm going to make one more point. This thing that we're just doing this because there's no more data centers, I don't know who you're kidding. We've been approached about other data centers. Some have needed zone changes. Others have come to us because it involves state land. So this moratorium is not just about data bank. It's about other potential data centers that want to come to Orangetown. And the reason they want to come to Orangetown, all new to me, is that the infrastructure for these facilities is there already. That's why they're all coming here, because Bloomberg put it in and originally, and they're coming because it is appropriate for them to come here. So I'm rejecting that we're just doing this for the sake of doing it. There are other data centers that are 100% interested in coming to Orangetown, and that's why we said we need to put a pause. We need to really take a deep look at it with professionals who can help us on that, and then just go and update our regulations and our laws, and again, let Data Bank proceed through the environmental process while we're doing that. So I think I got most of what my little notes said. Anybody else?
I agree. I agree. It's something that's been there. It's something that's come in. We do need to look at it because there are other people that are looking to do things. And hopefully we'll not have to do anything like this again because there will be restrictions of where they will be allowed, if they will be allowed anymore, and it'll go from there. And I think that's a sensible way to move forward.
No, I think Teresa summed it up perfectly, so no comment on my end.
So I'll say this, that this moratorium is going to allow us to obtain information and data so we can actually ask the questions from these data centers that want to be put in, whether it's including 100% green energy, such as solar panels on the entire property, working with the utility companies to make sure there is water, to make sure that there is power. These are the things that we don't know. This moratorium is going to give us that research, give us that data. It'll allow us to carve out a zone and part of the code to say that X, Y, and Z, we need these certain things. And if it comes to whether it's green energy, maybe a green farm somewhere else, at least we can explore those opportunities. Right now, we do not have that information. This moratorium will give us that information, and inclusive if we needed additional fire substations or EMS substations somewhere throughout the town, somewhere closer to the data centers, we'll have that information and we could ask them. We just we do not know what the questions are to ask them yet. So I feel that this moratorium will give us that information. That's what I look forward to.
So my fellow town board members and the supervisor covered most everything. The only thing I would add is if it is truly an environmental hazard, that should come up under the environmental review that's being done because it's extensive. It takes almost a year to get it done. I've never seen one under a year. So the moratorium would actually, our moratorium and the state moratorium could be over by the time they get finished with their environmental review. So if it proves to be dangerous in anything, too close to the water, all this will come up in that environmental review and they'll get knocked down by that. And then we don't have to worry about any legal ramifications for the town.
I would also just add that this moratorium is actually in a way broader than what the governor signed. Her executive order was only for data centers that were over 15 megawatts, if I'm saying it right. And so this doesn't even, Data Bank doesn't even apply for it, doesn't even qualify for it. So ours is, there's going to be no, limitations on what it is. It's basically all data centers. So in that way, I know there's possible legislation out there up in New York State for all data centers, and that would resolve this too. So, anything else? Okay, so then, where are we here? We already closed, right? We closed it, okay. Okay, so can I get a motion to a designation of a lead agency with respect to the local law and declaring the town board to be lead agency and declare it a type 2 action under SECRA?
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will also note, Rockland County Planning Board had nothing to say about it. I think that's like a first, that they had nothing to say. They said they're going to leave it to local jurisdiction. Okay, number 6, can I get a motion to adopt local law amending Chapter 43, adding article, townwide moratorium battery storage systems and data storage facilities? Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We did number 7 already. Number, we should probably, we have to do the public portion, regular public portion. Okay, so we're gonna take a 5-minute break, and then we're gonna come back, because we have to do the regular public portion of the meeting. All right. Okay, let's see where we are up to. Okay. Okay, we're going to get back to our meeting. If everyone could either move out or shut up. Uh-oh. Carmel's going to go.
Carmel. When was the last time?
Yeah, I need a gavel. I do need a gavel.
When was the last time? When was the last time?
Excuse us.
Okay, we are going to get back to our meeting, and I believe we're going to open the regular public comment section. Do I have to open? I guess we have to open the public comment, right?
What?
We have to open it again. Yeah.
Yes.
Motion to open the public comment
I make a
portion.
motion to open the general public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so I don't have anybody signed up on the general public comment section. So if there's anybody who would like to speak in the general public on other things, that just raise your hand. Okay, seeing no hands, can I get a motion to close the public comment portion?
Motion
I
to
make
close.
a motion to close public comment.
Sorry, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are
Number
on
8.
item number 8, yes, and this is one of my favorite ones. So, can I get a motion to approve the resolution in support of the New York Association of Towns Bill of Rights?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9. Can I get a motion to authorization for a delegate to attend the legislative meeting of New York at the Association of Towns? Myself. Motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second. You
All in
gotta
favor?
go.
Aye.
Aye.
I got suckered into that one. Okay, again, can I get a motion to approve the intergovernmental 3-year agreement between New York State Office of Information Technology and Division of Homeland Security? And again, it is for EDR detection and response software, and it is at no cost. Motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion to reappoint Stephanie Shear to the position, Kosovic, to the position of Deputy Town Attorney?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Rob, you didn't want to make it like retroactive or? Okay, it's all good. Okay. Number 12, can I get a motion to award contract to Milling and Paving to Tilcon for paving on Piermont Avenue in South Nyack?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I motion to accept the retirement of Richard Ballard after 38 years of service?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The audit?
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, the audit for tonight's meeting consists of 3 warrants for $1.9 million. Items of interest, number 3, Capasso, $120,000 for recycling. Number 4, Chestnut Ridge Transport, $25,000 for youth camp transportation. Number 8, Dury Lawnmower and Equipment, $31,000 for parks equipment, that's bonded money. Number 9, Global Montello, $24,000 for fuel. Number 15, Moody's Investor Services, $33,000 for our bond rating and bond issuance. Number 16, New York State Employees Health Insurance, $1.2 million for healthcare benefits. Number 19, Sport Tech Construction, $84,000 for Cherrybrook and Independence Park Tennis Court renovations. And number 20, the State Comptroller, $34,000 for justice fines. Any questions on the audit?
No. Anybody?
Make a motion to accept the audit as read.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we do have to go into executive session for no personnel-related matters. Anything else, Mr. Town Attorney?
You said executive session for personnel and land, possible land
And with a
acquisition.
possible
Yeah.
effective value, okay.
Right.
We do have some adjournments. We have Jamie O'Connell, a resident of Blowout and spouse and sibling to Orangetown employees Kevin O'Connell, Matthew Connolly, and Christopher Connolly. Anne Marie O'Sullivan, a resident of Pearl River, and then, of course, we have Dolly Parton, who passed away today. So, anyway. So, can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Make a motion to go into executive session and adjourn the regular town board meeting with no further votes being cast.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, we did it. We did it before we, yeah. we